so sorry.
That's all right.
Come on.
Yeah.
She like to get out, huh?
She really
Anytime you're ready to get sick.
Yeah,
Cal. Oh.
yeah.
Okay. Should swallow my gum here. You just want to do the initial. Yeah. Well, it's 7 o'clock. Good evening. Welcome to this Board of Education business meeting for the month of September. I'm waiting for Gary to join us, but so we met at 5:30 in the executive session. We covered 2 issues, land sale proposal, a meeting with our attorney, and collective bargaining unit discussions, both with 2 units here at the school. And this is our open public session. If you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you'd remain standing after.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just ask you to remain standing and just take a moment of silence, actually on 2 specific items, but 16 years ago, the 9/11 attacks hit this country, and just it's a good time to to remind ourselves the impact of that on our nation, and a lot of feelings that people had a lot within, and they come back just like it happened yesterday. So ask you to remember that, and also to remember the death of Deanna's mom, Florence Tiberia, who passed away last week. Just to think of Deanna and her family, because Deanna puts a lot of time in, and when you've got a parent that you're dealing with, a parent that's not doing well, it's amazing the kind of commitment that people like Deanna make. So just ask that we think about those 2 things for a second. Thank you very much. So I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda. Bob, a second. Christina, all those in favor? The agenda is adopted. We'll move forward with Board of Education comments, and the prerogative here tonight is we thought if we're going to talk about the opening of school, we got to hear from a student. So, Cameron?
Yeah, well, this past Wednesday, I was amazed at the warm welcome of the staff as well as several board members. I saw it at the high school, Mr. Casey and Mrs. Rajat, and it was just such a wonderful scene. I'm sure the staff have been preparing for a large part of the summer, but it's so great to come back and to just have that very, very warm welcome from everybody. It's truly a thrill to be back, and I know from both my perspective and many of my friends, everyone at the high school from where we are, is just so happy to be back. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And we'll move on. Naomi or anyone else?
Sure. I first wanted to also thank the administration for first the Superintendent's Conference Day. That was, of course, my first. I really enjoyed it. I also want to thank the diligent work of Mr. Ripchick along with the high school counselors for bringing Jessica Leahy. I see that he also gave us a thank you note for attending both the sessions. Jessica Leahy, who is a teacher and author of the New York Times bestseller, The Gift of Failure. I know this initiative would not have been possible without the additional support of the PTAs and the Clifton Park Library, and I also want to thank them. I thoroughly enjoyed her book and have been putting some of her guidance to work, including recommendations for specific talks like Mr. Pink and literature, other books that she had recommended. And being on the eve of the start of school, I know that timing was not ideal and therefore lower turnout in the evening with parents. And it's my hope that that the district can coordinate again with the PTAs and community partners to pursue similar speakers and so that others can benefit at better times during the year. Also, although far away, many of us were affected by the hurricanes that have been wreaking havoc in the south, east, and west, and like many of my families, and I hope that that the cleanup efforts are expedited and that those without power can get it soon. Fortunately, no one in my family was harmed. They're just suffering with the power outages and the cleanup. But I also wanted to mention that last week, PTA Council responded to a call for help for Hurricane Harvey victims and specifically requested supplies needed for students and families of the Houston Independent School District. Jen Clauso, president of the Shen PTA Council, sent out a call to help to all 12 of the PTA units, and they responded in a very big way. It was very encouraging. Clothing, underwear, shoes, basic hygiene items, school supplies such as paper, binders, pens, and pencils were donated. It was just overwhelming, the donations that were received. And over the weekend, 49 very large boxes were shipped out to the Houston School District. The shipping was covered by a local company, that's Kitware. And those that could not be shipped, because we also received lots of supplies and things that just didn't fit with the type of effort, were distributed to local charities and food pantries. So I wanted to say thank you to all that helped with that initiative. It was also very exciting to be part of something like that, knowing that it was going to a good cause. I also was very excited to do something that was specifically for a school district to victims of Hurricane Harvey.
Great, thank you. Deanna?
Just real brief. I just want to, I get so excited on the first day, and I wish I could have ran to meet everybody this year, but obviously I could not. So I was not able to partake in the school walk, which I missed very much. I also gained some great perspective. My daughter's in 9th grade this year, so that bus comes very early, so I opted, Olivia, I'll take you to school. So I said, let's go the back way around the junior high, and then we'll cut in. And I'm coming around that corner on the first day, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is crazy. And every day since. But I do have a greater appreciation for the transportation department. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they swing in to different parking areas and just pull it out, and they know when to go and they know when to come. It's really amazing. So, and I just want to, one shout out to Ken McDermott. I'm driving through the school the other day before I think we started, and he's on his bike. And I'm like, he's coming from east, and he's driving toward the IT center. So I pull in, I say, Ken, what are you doing? He goes, much easier to do it this way than get in the car and go from school to school. I'm like, that is really great. I think that's ingenuity right there. So I just want to say, good for you, Ken. Love it.
All righty. Well, Mrs. Huffman, I reiterated all the things that you said. That was all the comments I was going to make. And then one other additional comment actually is, again, the opening day of school, touring all the schools. It's always wonderful, to see all the kids, and actually a lot of them did have smiles on their faces and were excited, but also the teachers and all the staff, just really the enthusiasm. But to especially thank our facilities and custodial staff. Those schools were spotless when we walked through, and I know it's a lot of work during the summer, especially after the kids leave and probably have to get everything back in shape, first of all, and let alone any new things that need to be taken care of. But also a shout out again to transportation. Every school we went to, everyone kept saying it's been a smooth start so far, and they all said transportation was right on the mark, on time for the first day of school. That's unusual. And so they were very impressed to see that, which also helps, the faculty and teachers and everyone. When the kids are on time, everyone can get right settled in and get right to what they need to do. So, again, thank you to all the staff that made that a smooth transition, and glad everyone's back and looking forward to everything that's ahead of us.
I would like to echo the comments on the Jessica Lay presentation. Quite a few parents came up afterwards in the subsequent days following, treating it as a very thought-provoking speech or presentation. And I think that was the intended objective. I look forward to maybe some comments coming from Mr. Rimchick as he's presenting tonight on RAMP. But really this thing came from our counselors involved with the counseling committee, and that committee came from a lot of work done with the high school partnership team. And I think we're in a position, if we want to make this, think about it, we look at the comments that came back from the parents. I think we might be moving in a way that maybe we want to do this every year, provide a thought-provoking speaker, or consider ways that we can get parents in a large room and show them what's new, what's out there, what they need to be thinking about. I know we do it with a lot of things at the school level, but as a district being able to do that, I think that is something that we could really contribute to the amount of public discourse that could come from it. Not showing exactly what the format would be, but just setting this example is something that we should be provoking our thoughts. The other thing I'd like to bring forward is, partnership teams. Now that we start off a new year, these have a lot of potential. I've been on some where they didn't really work out due to lack of attendance or lack of engagement, not due to lack of trying, particularly from our building administrators. Almost every building administrator I've seen takes these very seriously. But sometimes the amount of parental involvement, and we often look for students to be involved in these partnership teams. And I would say a lot of times we don't see the students there because they are busy. But that is the type of thing we'd want to be doing more of, and getting people engaged at the building level. Develop one or two simple, straightforward goals that you haven't done before to really figure out what you're capable of, what you can do. To me, that's an untapped venue that we should be looking at. As far as all of the board members, I think that's the impetus for what you probably want to be thinking about this year is how can you get something more out of that than ever before. So thank you.
Gary?
Yeah. Not because I'm seeking recognition, but this actually represents my 50th year of being involved in public education in one capacity or another. I entered the public classroom in 1967. Now, the reason I say that is because I do have a certain amount of perspective. And the reason I want to share that perspective with you is because I feel I have an opportunity to show a contrast between the worst and the best. I once sat in a teacher's first day orientation where the then superintendent said, "Someday you people are going to leave, and when you do, we're going to hire somebody better than you are." That was the worst. That's not how you want to uplift people and motivate them and direct their energy. Then, on the other end of the spectrum, and unless you've seen that, and you've seen others somewhere in between recently, you don't fully appreciate the level of performance that we have an opportunity to witness here. When Dr. Robinson got before us, he not only motivated and directed people, but he uplifted people. And they deserve to be uplifted. They deserve to recognize and be acknowledged as doing something that is truly worthwhile. And what they're spending their life and their energy on is something that really needs to be recognized. That afternoon, and he did a marvelous job, that afternoon I went to a BOCES presentation. And it was nowhere as near like that bad representation. But it was, it just missed the target. It just did not really do what it needed to do in terms of lifting people. And so it really helped me put back to have a little bit more perspective of the range, the continuum. And we are so fortunate to be on the high end. And I just wanted to thank Dr. Robinson and everybody else that was responsible for that program, for presenting a truly outstanding program. And hopefully the teachers went into their classrooms energized to a greater extent than they would have been otherwise. I believe they probably did.
Thanks, Gary. Todd?
I'm personally just happy my kids are back in school. On a serious note, though, this year we extended the Chromebook project throughout our middle school. So last year we started with the 6th graders, of which my daughter was one, and it went very well, I thought. This year we extended it to the 7th and 8th graders. So the existing 7th graders are in year 2, 6th grade, 8th grade, and I have heard nothing but good things about that trial so far, or not even a trial anymore, about the program. It's no longer a trial, and I've heard nothing but positive aspects from the kids, from the parents, and the day one rollout, there weren't a ton of issues, so it was very well planned, and I think we're going to see that as one of the best things that we've done in quite a while for our kids.
Thank you, Todd. I just want to mention a couple things as it relates to the opening day. One, education these days, a lot has to do with metrics. So here are the metrics. We took 8,000 steps and walked 3.5 miles on my Fitbit, going around to each one of the schools with staff who, and I agree with you, spotless. And when we talked to support staff, they were as happy to see kids back in school as the rest of the staff were. They just, and the other thing I noticed, sometimes it slips by us. We went into several classrooms where there were special needs students, and I was really appreciative of the immediate connection that was taking place between the teachers in the room and the support staff who were there, the aides that were in there. Those are kids that can't miss a beat, and each of those programs. And we walked into the MOVE program in Tasago, and you know, from looking at that room, these are kids who've been together for a long time. I mean, there was a comfort level in there, there was a attentiveness, and sometimes I think we tend to overlook those students and the special needs that they have. But I'm just proud of our district and how we handle those. So that's what I have for comments. We will move to, this is a session that we have public comments, and our students here tonight, I'm not sure if they are.
Yes.
Sure, yes, come on up. Yeah.
Ladies?
So give us your names again, and we'll really work hard on trying to remember these.
I'm Madeline Smith.
I'm Paige Ratzep.
Thank you.
So what's going on?
So in the Senate right now, we had our first meeting yesterday, and we were finally able to vote on the parliamentarian position. So this year's parliamentarian is Anna Maria Taylor, and we're excited to have her on the officer team. Our main event that we're working on right now is the Spirit Rally, which is happening October 6th before homecoming. And if you want to go into details of that.
So practically in our homerooms, we're trying to build the banners and get a lot of the Senate involved, and also bring in other people to help with liaisons and with the sports teams. We're bringing in Unified Sports this year to run through the banner. Yes, and so we're really excited about this year. We have a new idea with the Pie to the Face. We're doing a fundraiser because our balance is slightly low.
Face, you said?
Yes, with the class
Whose face?
assistant principal.
Oh, okay.
So whichever, you're safe for now. So whichever class fundraises the most, we're deciding, I think we're going to put in the Senate balance, and then going to Shen Helping Shen, which is a program for students who cannot afford field trips or supplies or whatever they need. We do it anonymously to these students. They can apply for it. So whichever class raises the most, somebody gets to throw a pie to that class assistant principal face. And they've all agreed to it so far, so things are looking good.
Also this year, the class council is doing something called Fan Fest, where we're really going to try to involve the community a lot more. There's going to be tables set up all in the parking lot behind the middle school or high school west, and there's going to be a lot of activities, and we're really trying to bring the entire community in, not just the students and teachers and family members, but anybody who isn't a part of the school district in some way, so they can all have a fun time with participating in the event.
So what we're trying to do mostly this year in Senate is to close the gap of communication. We're trying to communicate more to high school west with the Senate. We have liaisons that are in 9th grade that are in Senate, contributing back and forth. We're trying to communicate more to the faculty and administration. We're just trying to get our word out, and we're looking to take a couple of stances on Board of Education, different opportunities. So we're really excited, and we're also trying to get the community more involved. We were considering, the thought came up of a run through campus or through the communities, so we could have interest from all ages, all through Shenendehowa, and also anyone else who's looking forward. Yes. Thank you.
We think you guys are on the right track. We took 2 retreat times, that we're going to talk about a little later, to work on our own goals for the year and engagement, involving a greater number of people. And I do want to volunteer if one of those assistant principals is back out on the pie thing.
You're next in line.
I've never met a pie that I didn't like, so I take on the face. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
This is also an opportunity for residents to speak. Let me ask, are there any residents here tonight who would like to speak? We will ask again at the end of the session, and I don't think I'll have to do the intro to that, and we'll move directly to the superintendent's report.
Sure, so my report is actually, first report is actually a video. We initially thought we were going to do it the following board meeting, but it's ready. So oftentimes people say, what happens during the summertime? You know, do you actually work during the summertime? Who works during the summertime? Well, there are a lot of people doing a lot of things in the summertime, and Ms. DeFiciano spent a summer capturing some of the things that happen here at Shen in the summer. So indulge us for a while here to show what actually happens during Shen during the summer. So hopefully we got speakers.
You have to stop. You have a mouse.
Where's Ken? Yes, volume up here. Come on, Ken.
There you go.
So, yeah.
We could just move one of these microphones over to it.
No. We have a new thing put up there. They just unplugged it in the library time.
I know.
You want to move that volume back down, back around?
Yeah, it's going to blast. It's okay.
Wait.
I like to hear myself.
Yeah, man.
What's your tongue?
Yeah.
I'll play and see what happens. So while we start talking, continue on that, as Cameron pointed out, we had a pretty seamless opening day of school, and certainly want to express my thanks to the entire board, particularly those of you who completed the 3-mile trek. And for people who don't know, this is something that we've been doing now for 12 years running. When I first got to Shen, I too wanted to know our schools, and so we thought it was a great way to get to know the schools together, because quite often, even as board members, if you're not assigned to a school, sometimes you probably never actually go to that particular school. So it's a great opportunity for board members to see the different schools. It's also a great opportunity for staff to see and interact with board members, and as Cameron mentioned, it shows also a tremendous sense of appreciation to know that board members volunteering their time, taking out the time to do so. We start at 7:30 and we end around 12:30. So it's truly the entire morning going to every school, stopping in classrooms, really getting a real feel of what it's like as an individual board member. So certainly want to say thank you very much for that, and your attendance at Superintendent's Conference Day. As I often say, that sometimes people, because they see board members, often they think that as board members you're required to be in attendance at different things, but we truly have a very committed group of individuals here who attend, and certainly Superintendent's Conference Day is one of those as well. And this video, now that we have it up, I think kind of reflect our larger theme for the year is engagement. And when we think about engagement, it's not only how do we create engaging or more engaging environments for our students, but also how do we foster and to a large degree facilitate an environment where employees, people feel empowered. People feel as if that, they're contributing to the larger whole, and feel appreciated for those contributions. And one quick story, if you didn't have a chance to see the community news ran an article on one of our ground sky interview Q&A piece, and to hear this gentleman describe his role. He's assigned to the athletic fields. And if you know, we have many, many fields that we have to cut all the time. And to hear him talk about the importance of the precision. Field hockey needs to be 1 inch. Soccer is this and this. And that sense of pride that he takes and basically says, you know, I feel so good when I see kids on the field enjoying the experience and other people coming in and saying, wow, these fields are in great shape. And that's what I mean by the engagement piece. When people feel appreciated and empowered to do their part, not only do their part, but do their part well. And so we hope as a system we continue to do that. And, you know, as I said, you know, the load is made lighter when there are more hands lifting. And so we have a lot of great people, and I think we're off to a great school year, and certainly not rushing to the end. But I think when we look at the end of this year, we're going to see yet another successful year because of tremendous commitment by the board, by the community, by our students, and certainly by the faculty, staff, and administration that do a lot of stuff. And this video captures some of the things that actually happens in the summer to ensure that we have that seamless progression that Cameron described. So when we think about summertime, often people think, what happens in the summer? What happens from a leadership perspective in the summer? Summer is actually when we really we got a voice, no video. Academies where we bring all supervisors. Okay.
Take two,
Okay,
take three.
swap positions from now on then. Huh?
We're gonna watch him again.
Yes. Actually, listen to the
Do I mute him?
from the leadership academies where we bring all supervisors, all administrators together to really get the best thinking on the table, to plan our goals, to plan forward. And so when we think about the success of the success of the district hinges upon how well we plan during the summertime. And so goal setting is a vital part of the process. When we look at the district goals speaks to who we are as an organization and how well we serve our students moving forward. And so this summer was, again, another critical year for us. We were realizing a lot of success as a school system, and the more success we have puts greater pressure on us to, quite frankly, to plan better and plan forward and be much more strategic and think about what we do and how we do it. In the same way, we ask our students to come to school prepared to learn, and we ask our teachers to ensure that we're doing those things that engage our students in the learning process. The same way as leaders, we have to do the same thing. We have to lead like champions because at the end of the day, truly at the end of the day, leadership matters. Leadership is important, and leadership is how we position the district for prosperity.
This summer, we've spent a lot of time organizing curriculum work across the district. We have teachers from all levels in working on updating and enhancing our curriculum program. In particular, a lot of work has been done to ensure we're ready to roll out the one-to-one initiative at grades 7 and 8. And sixth grade teachers have also been working in many cases reviewing and updating and enhancing the curriculum that they've already developed to integrate the Chromebooks into the curriculum at sixth grade. So the middle school is really going to be ready to fully onboard the one-to-one initiative for Chromebooks, meaning every single student in the school district will have his or her own Chromebook in support of their learning. Our office has been very busy making sure that we have ordered all the necessary math books and have delivered all of the English language arts and journeys series books to the various classrooms throughout the districts, making sure that every classroom is ready to start the school year off right. Also this summer, we've been working on hiring new teachers. I'm going to say in this office alone, just for final interviews, we've probably interviewed 150 to 180 finalists for teaching positions. We've also brought on board some really quality new administrators to our system. This summer, I met with academic leaders from across the district to review progress made on last year's district goals, in particular talking about areas of cultural competence and how we're becoming more responsive to the various cultures in our district. Also looking at our student performance data in all areas. We've also had a lot of conversations about the progress that we're making related to progressive practices in summertime has also been spent on updating the teacher evaluation system and preparing for the 2017-18 school year, and also preparing to roll out a new evaluation system for our related service providers. And those include our school librarians and our counselors and our psychologists, social workers, teachers on special assignment, professional developers. And so we're really looking forward to seeing that come to fruition this summer. We were able to offer, again, 3 full weeks of a summer academy program for our teachers, and actually other folks in the school system can come as well, people who substitute in the district who have filled in long-term leaves. And those individuals have come in and worked with our professional developers, professional development coordinator, lead teachers for technology, learning about best practices in terms of integration of technology, or working with students who are English language learners in our system. We really had several hundred teachers come in, and that's all voluntary on the part of the teachers. Over the summer, the Office of Human Resources is very busy working with the rest of our staff to recruit and hire new teachers and non-instructional employees in all areas. This summer, so far, we have hired 53 new probationary teachers after scanning over 500 applications, particularly for the elementary openings. We use an online system, OLAS, and it's very successful. We also have 25 support staff that have been hired in all areas: clerical, transportation, and buildings and grounds. We've hired 4 administrators, including a new high school principal. We offer professional development opportunities over the summer, starting with our new teachers. We had 53 new teachers attend new teacher orientation, which was 3 days of intensive training, immersing our new teachers in the culture of Shenendehowa, talking about district goals with Dr. Robinson, the annual professional performance review with Dr. Wood, and a variety of instructional technology practices. We also provided support staff with orientation and professional development opportunities such as community service, communication, and our transportation department does their annual training with all new employees.
We're actually really busy in the summer because we close out the old year and initialize the new year. But with the closing out of the books, we have our auditors in, we have to prepare financial statements, we have SED reporting that we have to do, and then we initialize the new year, which includes initializing the budget, accounts payable, and especially payroll, because all of the employees have to roll over to the new year with their new rates of pay, and that's all according to contract. But with 1,800 employees, that's obviously quite a job. There's a lot of purchases that happen kind of at the end of the old year, beginning of the new year, to ensure that we have all the supplies and furniture and equipment that we need to start the new year in September.
We're management services and quality control, and 2 of our big areas of concentration in the summertime are student data, which comes back in the form of that from the state of New York. Actually, it comes back as a spreadsheet. We kind of make it so that people can see it. And it's important to get that information back out to the principals and then eventually to the teachers so that they have an understanding of how well the students did in the areas that they want to kind of focus on and improve on. Another big focus for our department is student registration. We take care of registering students for school. We did the kindergarten registration in January, but we also register hundreds of students over the summer months. And we also deal with parent portal, provide a little support for schools to get the schedules done, the lockers taken care of, and also working with transportation to provide all the bus information that shows up in the parent portal with the student schedule.
Hi, I'm Scott DeAmbro, the coordinator for the Summer Literacy E&L program here. I am proud to be the coordinator to represent and share our talents at Shenendehowa with all the children who come meet us. We currently have around 252 students from K to 6, and also the E&L population as well. We have 29 staff members that share their expertise and care and love to the children here of Shenendehowa. Our goals this year at Summer Literacy is to, 1, get the kids practicing again, get them back into books, get them back into reading and math. just so that they're comfortable. These children are a little bit more uncomfortable with learning, so that's why they're here with us. We keep them practicing, and they learn from each other as well as from our teaching staff. The greatest thing is not only are they learning the academics of what's important to be carried on to next year and to the fall, but they also learn new friendships and how socially to meet new people from all the 8 elementary schools and to get bind together into one common learning community. The children love to meet each other at first, and they love to make friends outside of school. So again, the connections socially lead into learning, into lifelong learners overall for the whole community in the Clifton Park.
The summer work actually begins well before the summer. In fact, probably in about February is when we really start planning. We take a look at the equipment that's out in the field, when things are coming off warranty, and we work with what we call our obsolescence plan, because we need to replace equipment before it becomes a problem. We do that for printers, servers, we do it for Chromebooks, PCs, projectors, pretty much any kind of technology that we have in the field. This year, a big initiative is to outfit all of the elementary school classrooms K through 3 with iPads. Every classroom will have 8 iPads, and every 4th and 5th grade elementary classroom will have 15 Chromebooks. And then at the middle school level this year, we are giving every student in grades 6, 7, and 8 a Chromebook in our one-to-one initiative. Due to a lot of really good planning, we're in very good shape for opening in September. The lab aides, they're coming in and they're going to start putting the Chromebooks in cases and tagging them for each individual kid by homeroom. We've already prepared them, we've enrolled them in the Google domain, and they're ready to go. We're doing some work over in our disaster recovery center, replacing a server over there that works with our backup equipment. Over the summer, we also get a lot of equipment that's been out in the field and people haven't really wanted to send it back in for repairs. For instance, the one-to-one Chromebook devices that the 6th graders had last year, we had the lab aides, when they collected those in the spring, kind of triage them, and they identified a pretty good number that needed like replacement keypads and stuff like that. One thing that a lot of people would never think about, and it's a big part of our work over the summer, is maintaining the inventory on all the equipment, because stuff is moving between buildings. Some stuff is going back out or going out of our organization for obsolescence, while we're bringing in a lot of new equipment.
So SEEK Camp, Summer Enrichment and Exploration Camp, part of our Shen Summer Adventure program. We've been around for about 14 years now, and we started with just 8 workshops and about 180 kids, and now we're up to 570 kids with 23 different workshops in the summer. Kids can come every day from 9 to 4, and they can take 3 different workshops throughout the day. Block 1, Block 2, and Block 3. They have a cover a variety of different things. Things like middle school transition, American Red Cross babysitting, forensic science, backyard biology, countertop chemistry, cooking, all kinds of great sports. Great things to kind of take the educational experience and expand it beyond the school day and have them coming back and doing some really enriching things here in the summer. We love having students come back in the summer to be with their teachers and engage in these workshops, not only to kind of enrich themselves as students, but to give back to their school. That's why one of our workshops we have Build a Better School, or gardening, because we beautify the courtyards, we do what we can to make sure the walls of our school look like a place that's engaging for kids to come and learn from.
Facilities and Operations Department, during the summer, first of all, the summer planning, we have to start with that first. And that starts in March, usually. We'll start with a good idea in December from the budget planning. And then before the budget vote, that's our critical time right in there. So then change the combinations in the line as well. So there's like 3,000 or so locker combination that we changed just in the high school east alone, and in the middle school complexes and high school west as well. Each building will go through and attack it a wing at a time, and that is, as you see here, where you have all the furniture out in the hallways. They'll pull all the furniture out of the room. It's usually clean inside the room and then set in place in the hallways. So once the furniture's out in the hallway, then the classroom cleaning will start. They will clean everything from top to bottom. They will start with the lights. There's a process to do the windows and the walls. There's even a process to the floor, as far as either stripping or scrubbing, and the refinish of stuff, the coating has to go on. Our gyms and stages are done, are resurfaced, but we usually paint a good 20% of the school in the classroom. On the facility side, we have maintenance and grounds. That also goes along the 5-year capital improvement plan. They'll attack a lot of different projects within that plan if they can, under the scope that they can with the manpower and the money. And then their actions will start within the grounds areas too. They'll start mowing, they'll start doing all their sprucing up to the front flower beds, and then a whole host of other things with the grounds as far as repairing roadways and potholes and so on and so forth.
During the summer, we have an ESY program for students. So we have a program in summer that reaches almost 300 students. And we have half-day programs for students who require academic support. We have full-day programs for students who need some social emotional support, maintaining their social skills, and also students who have significant developmental disabilities, multiple disabilities. And we're able to provide a great program for students that focus on maintaining their skills in all of those areas, academic, social, and physical development. So during the summer, students who are here for full-day programs will go on a field trip every week, which also supports them maintaining their community skills, their social skills, and general interaction skills. Those field trips are great for kids. It breaks up their week so that they don't feel like they're just at school again for another 6 weeks. Most of our staff is Shenendehowa staff, which is great. Some teachers are even able to live with their kids in the summer. We provide related services in the summer, and really we have a great program for our students.
All right, so summertime here at Shen Transportation is very, very busy for our transportation department. We have summer school going. Currently, we're running about 38 buses. We also support the town of Half Moon with about 12 buses, and the town of Clifton Park with a couple more buses on top of that. So what do we do during the summer? Well, DOT inspections on our buses are ongoing. The inspector's here twice a week. We inspect 12 buses. We continue with our corrective maintenance, preventive maintenance. We do wall-to-wall parts inventory. We do restriping of the bus parking lot. Training is ongoing. We have probably half a dozen new trainees right now at different stages in their training cycle, getting ready for the start of the school year. Our office staff is very busy putting lists together of getting ready for bidding, so there's a few spreadsheets that we have to work on and prepare. We're working on routes. We have approximately 900 different routes that we put together to pick up the 10,300 kids that we transport every day. We're closing out the old budget and opening up new purchase orders for the upcoming school year. We probably have all told about 50 different projects that occur during the summer to see us through the summer program for summer school and to get us ready for the upcoming school.
Shenendehowa Summer School offers a number of programs to help students recover credit. And we also offer Regents Review courses and bridge courses to help students get ahead in their program of studies. We offer a number of Regents exams in August to help students either improve their grade or achieve credit working towards graduation. We have about 200 students in our program recovering credit and about another 150 students seeking to improve or achieve credit on the Regents exams. At the conclusion of our program, we typically graduate anywhere between 8 and 12 students who otherwise would not have graduated without the program support. During the summer, our district also offers driver's ed courses through community education.
Yeah, we've had a great summer here with the Shen Athletic Program. During the summer, everybody thinks that there's not a lot of games and contests going on, but the big thing that we do in our office is we have to make sure that we get 1,600 student athletes cleared through their physicals. Our athletic trainer, Rick Nice, is responsible for working with our doctor, Tony Marinello, to make sure that we have all the physicals in place. We get a ton of inventory for the upcoming year, including uniforms, balls, bats, anything else you can name that goes into playing. We work with our buildings and grounds. We do a field inventory and kind of go around and see the areas where we need to get some maintenance done on our fields. We start putting our schedules together. Shenendehowa competes in over 1,500 contests each year, so we try to make sure we have as much lined up as we can. We're always in the process of looking for good quality coaches. We go out and try to find lower level coaches that we're hiring as well. So while we kind of in a slow mode during the summer, we never totally shut down, and we're always kind of looking forward to that first day when 800 athletes arrive on campus.
So clearly, appreciate the time, but it's certainly one of those things that I think, again, oftentimes people take for granted the things that actually occur and why things happen the way they happen. And as Kelly switched me, and we have another quick presentation, but before I have Mr. Ripchick come forward, I just want to share some, can I touch it now? I want to share some opening day, just some opening day quick enrollment piece. It's interesting, and Mr. Miller told me this morning that, as you can imagine, Mr. Miller get excited about data. Certainly much more excited than I can ever imagine being. And this morning he was so excited to tell me that the difference between Monday's enrollment and Friday's enrollment is we actually lost 19 kids already. And so we see in the first week of school a lot of up and downs. It's interesting between parents who thought, okay, I'm going to have my kid come to school, and then I changed my mind because we want to go to private parochial, or some cases people move last minute. So we always have this kind of up and down period leveling out. And so I just want to kind of give some opening day piece of it. And we also have some information going back. So our current system, Infinite Campus, is 12 years old. It actually, that first year was here when we started, so it's great that we have this span of time. It's just kind of interesting because as we're touring around one of the buildings, I heard one of the principals say, oh my God, we have so many kids this year. And I laughed because I'm thinking, like, you just don't know what we had in comparison to now. And so it's interesting when you look at those kind of things. So when you kind of look back, for instance, on this slide, if you can see it here, back in Oranjan opening day last year to this year. So if you look at Oranjan, Oranjan is up 19 kids. And so Mr. Hill said, oh, I'm up 19 kids. But back in 2006, Oranjan was 774 kids. So actually, when you really look at it, he's actually down 97 kids from 12 years ago. And you'll see this trend in the elementaries. We know elementary has been dropping enrollment, but the cycle is starting to level off again. And so you kind of go through this progression, and we follow this data points from opening day to opening day, try to see where we're seeing growth in different buildings. You see some growth in Chango, but again, the relative thing, Chango 12 years ago is 6 to 7 kids less than and this was also a tipping point when we started looking at redistricting. So the redistricting boundaries haven't been in place now about 9, 10 years, because it took us a couple of years to kind of stabilize the redistricting boundaries. So you can quickly start seeing why in this column, why we had to do this. Probably the most shocking, I mean, right now, Arenda, last year, remember we were looking at Arenda. Arenda's population was starting to creep up. Render is now somewhat stabilizing, and we see about 39 down. Render has, in the past, has been as 598. So Render's been fairly stable. Shattuckon enrollment is starting to stabilize somewhat as well, and Shattuckon didn't exist. And so that's why it's a 0 here. So when you think about it, Shattuckon came aboard because the most shocking one is Chisago. Back in 06, Chisago was at 722. To give you perspective, Chisago was at 722. Orangen was at 774. Orangen is by far significantly larger physical plant size than Chisago. So at one point, we actually had classrooms in all the hallways in Chisago, which was kind of weird. It's kind of imagine like all the people who live in the parking lots in Florida now. That's where we had kids literally having classes in hallways, and that was like a real trigger to say something has to be done with the redistribution. And if you look at 06 distribution and you start looking at the distribution now, you see things for the most part. Right now, Carrigan is starting to come back on an upswing, but Chisago continues to be one of our smaller. So at some point, this balance of enrollment is something we're going to have to watch at the elementary perspective. But just kind of give you some flavor, because I think it's important for us to keep things in context as we move forward. So opening day is at elementary level as of this past opening day. We actually have one more kid more. However, those numbers have kind of fluctuated plus or minus. But for the elementary level, for the most part, entire population is very similar opening day this year versus opening day last year. When you look at the middle school, it's one of those important things to look at. The middle schools have, it's interesting, Gowanus in the past used to be, you see here back in 2016, 805, 807, 830. And now, as I said, the bubbles are going through the middle school now, and the bubbles are starting to hit the high school. We had those bubbles in the middle school for the longest time, and now those bubbles are going out. And so you see the enrollment decline in middle school. So overall, the middle schools, 113 kids less this year versus last year, and that was to be expected because we knew those bubbles were going through the system, so to speak. So we're watching those kind of things as we move forward. Similar to high school is always a year of transition because this is where we get the private parochial shift more at high school. So you say, well, where do all the bubble kids go? Well, not every kid who goes through middle school here end up going to high school. We start to see a lot of transition to private parochial, some of them because of sports, some of them because of religious reasons, some of wide variety of reasons that we see those transitions at high school. So we are seeing an increase, opening day increase at the high school as we move forward. So overall, the overall population of the district is actually a little bit lower than it was opening day last year, and that's to be expected because we see those big numbers going out at the high school and smaller numbers coming in, so to speak. So this kind of give you some flavor, and statistically it's pretty flat when you really think about it because these numbers go up and down almost on a daily basis, especially for the next several weeks as families make decisions and things of this nature. So, but when you look at overall, since 2006, we are up about 220 kids. So we're seeing a pretty decline that we flattened out, started declining, and we're starting to do this again. And so in November, when we do our enrollment forecast with our consultant, I think you're going to start seeing the trend starting to do this again, probably not as fast, or hope that not as fast, but certainly one of those things we have to watch. But this is the area that we'll watch to see how this continue to shift. But when you start looking at the net impact to compare it to even 12 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, we're certainly in a way better situation than we were now as a result of redistricting. Thoughts, questions, comments? Just, again, nice little information point to give you perspective.
Are Orangen and Shattuckon about the same
No,
capacity?
Orangen is bigger. Shattuckon is designed to be similar student configuration as all the other. Okay. Orangen is bigger than all the other 8 elementary schools. Shattuckon just feels that way because it's so long. It's a long design. Orangen by design has designed to be more capacity. So again, just some opening day piece to share some flavor with you. We have, as Mr. Ripton come forward, I'll transition you. As the board knows, Mr. Ripchick has been with us several different times to talk about update on guidance, as well as the exciting news about when we were recognized for the ramp process. And certainly I won't steal his thunder because he's been waiting all summer for this moment.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I just want to say this isn't about the award, especially for my group. They're very humble by nature. Matter of fact, if they didn't even have to worry about this in terms of the award piece, they wouldn't. They're really, truly in it for the children. But I'm, as their leader, was very proud to have the opportunity in July to go out to the National Convention, the ASCA Convention in Denver, and represent Shenendehowa School District. And as I'm beaming here, I had an opportunity to attend a banquet of 400 Black Tie Affair, where they recognized over 100 schools from around the country for their efforts in pursuing this national award. On top of that, we indicated back in January that we were one of 6 schools in the whole country that was determined to be a distinguished school. So not only did we get the ramp certification, but we scored out as one of the top 6 based on our efforts. I got some information from one of the executives there that in fact we were, well, it wasn't publicly noted, we were number 1. So I'm proud papa in terms of that, and I had a chance that evening to receive the plaque. On behalf of the school, the counseling department in the school, I wanted to be able to share that out with you, so I brought that tonight. And I'm so nervous to have it. It's granite, so it's been in my office, but I wanted to share that with you, Dr. Robinson. And we'll display that.
That's very nice.
And this was the awards dinner program, and inside it, I'll share it with you, are all the different schools around the country, and in particular, our school, just the school counselors' names: Jonna Apple, Mike Carpentieri, Tricia Clark, Lauren DiGianni, Celia Gainey, Megan Gifford, Deanna Grego-Thompson, Steve Hart, Gretchen Lynch, Maria Payne, Jan Riley, Catherine Sapienza, and Don Flynn, our principal at the time, was part of the award. So as part of the distinguished group that evening, it was kind of interesting. I even had a chance to sit at the head table with the CEO of ASCA. All the other 100 schools that got their awards, and their award was similar, had to stand in line as they announced it throughout the course of the evening. Well, the distinguished representatives not only got to sit during it, but they had a special video that was done, and this corporation was sent out from Florida to come in, and they spent almost a half a day with us to put together a video. So I wanted to be able to share that video out with you, and again, thank you for your support on this. Again, for them, it's not about the award. It really is about what they love to do, and they work so hard at. So.
Just trying to, I guess, take the initiative to put the brakes on sometimes and say, does everything have to be done the way it's being done, as fast as it's being done for every kid, or should there be different ways of doing things to get to each student's own goal while maintaining their health?
I think every family background and every student is at a different place developmentally and maturity level. So meeting with the students one-on-one and really seeing, like, where are you at? What do you want to do? What are your goals? Is really exciting for us, and it's fun to kind of, go with them through that journey.
I think the counseling program helps to create a really positive school culture and climate, and without that, I think we'd be really struggling to create the type of environment that we want to create at the high school.
In aligning with the ASCA model, our counseling curriculum, you're a little bit awestruck about how much your coworkers actually do in, to help student success. So although daunting at times, it was very inspiring, motivating, and rewarding work that we did. And as far as the RAMP application, it has helped us to advocate. We're able to speak to our stakeholder groups and have them understand, because they're able to see numbers. Data speaks to multiple people, and I think they're able to see clearly what we do and are able to understand the work that we're doing more than what we told them and what we inherently know that we do.
Having the model
become a more progressive counseling department, and it's been a lot of fun being able to be motivated to keep going and learning.
We're just excited to be chosen for this distinct honor, and we know that in the long run, it's all about this opportunity to show growth of our students, and we believe that this ramp application has provided that for us. So we're excited, and we look forward to re-ramping in the future.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Paul. Anyone have any questions for Paul? Paul's been a frequent visitor here.
I have.
Frequent flyer miles here, right?
Yeah. Just recently, too, I believe it's this week, the New York State School Boards Association came in and is going to be doing an article on our department, in particular, some of the items that we've done. Moving forward, with Jessica with us helping to lead that effort, we look forward to seeing where that's going to take us. And I had a chance the other night to talk to Jessica and ask her. My question was, okay, you did a great job. Thank you so much for coming. Now what do we do? And her comment was, well, it really is about getting the stakeholders all together, the parents, the students, and the educators together, and start having conversations, in particular about how we can continue to build intrinsic motivation in our students. Our friends at the public library, Half Moon Park Library, have already given us their blessing to utilize their facility if we want to start up programs or groups. I know as part of the CAC, as we continue, we're going to have conversations about how we can move forward with these discussions. And I'm excited about the students really being part of this and taking ownership of their education. So that's where we're heading. Thank you so much again for everything. I appreciate your support. And yeah, we look forward to working.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Paul, if I could just make one comment when you get a chance.
Thanks, Gary.
Have a comment over there.
Yeah.
Just one comment. Well, first of all, congratulations. I know it was a lot of work, first of all, just the application process itself. I know how grueling that was. And the work that you guys do each and every day, I don't think people realize to the extent and the scope of what, the Counseling and Career Center does, especially, at the high school. But one of the things, too, we talked about at the beginning of the school year, and you hear all about the smooth transition, the happy students and all that. But one thing we sometimes forget is there are a lot of students that are starting the school year and that have anxiety, especially at the high school level, whether it's transitioning from the 9th grade building to this larger building, or just kids that might deal with anxieties or other things as well. And I just know that the first week, you guys are not only busy with, changing schedules and kids, not sure if they're in the right classes or what they're doing, but also providing that extra support to kids that are struggling, whether again, with anxiety or other, mental health issues as well, but also working closely with our Student Empowerment Center to make sure those kids have a good transition, and can be happy like the rest of the kids. And I do want to just give a quick shout out. I see Megan Gifford here. I know just firsthand the first week, some of the things that she's worked with some families and some students I know that were really struggling. So I just want to give you a shout out because, again, you guys sometimes go unrecognized for that component of our kids, not just the academics, but that social well-being. So thank you to all of our counselors for looking at our kids at the whole picture and making sure they get everything they need to be happy, healthy, and engaging them to have a great career and experience. So
Thank you very much. Thank you.
PJ, I just know talking with different counselors, and I had the privilege of speaking to one this week as well for my own daughter with a few questions. They think outside of the box. I know I've had several conversations with Mr. Hart, and Catherine Sapienza. I mean, just they want to do things. They want to be there for the kids. They're present. They're there at the front line, and they just do tremendous. And like you said, the kids do come first, and in their minds they do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, for me, as I said, their leader. I'm proud of all their efforts. This is just an opportunity to be able to recognize, some of the things that they do.
Go ahead, Cameron.
Yeah, here, that's the very, just to make sure that people hear. I know this proves what I've at least known at the high school for the past year since I've been a freshman. We truly have a really gifted counseling program. From my experience with Mr. Hart and Mrs. Apple, Mr. Hart, he, from some of my goals of being a viable candidate for the United States Military Academy at West Point, he set me up with West Point Alumni. He's gone ahead, gotten me into a physical and athletic training program. And he's, and Mrs. Apple as well, helping me with, some congressional needs. They're truly, they're willing to be a team. And between schedule changes the past several years, I don't think, this award could be more well placed. We're truly, really lucky. So thank you to the counselors.
Thanks, Cameron. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, everybody.
PJ. You got your awards back?
Yeah, no, it's going over at our place. Do you want
No, that's what I want to make sure you got it back.
Yeah,
No, that's good, that's
I'm
good.
going to have
No,
the display case.
Not a problem. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Cameron's right.
I was thinking, I probably should stand up here. I don't have music. We don't have pies to throw in the face. One of the things, though, we want to share as a board, we've had a couple retreats and team building opportunities over the summer. And, this district focuses a lot on goals. And we felt as a board that we should have some goals ourselves. And so I wanted to share those with people. One, because I think by sharing them, it leads to some accountability. So hold us accountable. And if you have suggestions for us, we want to hear that. But somewhat tumultuous year. And also note that at this particular time on our board, we have 3 board members who are in their first term. And I don't know what the history is on that, but it's one of those things we keep taking for granted. Everybody knows the rules. Everybody's figured this out. And it doesn't always happen that way. And so we really came out of our retreats with a 2-track kind of focus. One is on as a Board of Education team. And then the second, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is how we have better communications with the public. Our goals as a team, to be more proactive in our communications with each other. We each are out at a lot of schools, we're at a lot of events, and you hear some great ideas out there, and by chance, sometimes you hear them at this table. And so we've kind of committed to each other. When we hear these unique kind of ideas that are out there, things that are going on, we will share them with each other. It just makes us more rounded board members, and we can't be every place at once. Sometimes it feels the day that we did the walk from 7:30 in the morning till quarter to 12, and then most of us were back that night to listen to Jessica Leahy, and that was before school started. But we have a lot of opportunities to be out there and to connect with people, and we want to commit to connecting back with each other, that we can share the ideas that we're hearing. We all are connected either with 1 or 2 schools, with PTAs, with partnership teams, and there's some great ideas going out there, and we can do a better job of sharing. So we're committed to that. The other is with the we get a lot of inquiries come into the district. They come into the district office, and in most cases, in many cases, there's a copy to the board president. They're normally not praise letters. They're normally raising an issue. And one of the things that I think we as a board can do, a board president can do, is, and I watched this with Bob. Bob shared a lot of those inquiries that came in and tried to respond in a quick basis. And we commit to continuing to try to do that so that we know what's the pulse out there. What are the issues that are happening? The other is, and we don't have an answer for this, is we think it's probably time that we think about having a mentoring program for our board members, for new board members as they come in, and we've got some work to do on that. I don't have an answer on that. As it relates to increasing our communication opportunities with the public, we're going to try some things this year. Right? So you're going to hear me use the word pilot several times. We want to pilot some targeted topic public forums, looking to create opportunities for more dialogue with the public. Initially hoped to pilot 2 forums this year, and we have already scheduled one. We're taking some risk here. An issue that we've heard from a lot of people about, that they have concerns about not what we're doing, but the need for the service, and that's mental health services. And we've taken several initiatives over the last couple of years to change the way we do things. So on October 24th, we're going to hold a forum prior to a board meeting. We'll have a couple experts talk about what we're doing in the school. There'll be some board questions, but we'll encourage the public to be here. We'll encourage a dialogue back and forth. Ask some questions. We'll try to answer them while you're here. We'll try, get some concerns, share them with us, and we'll be looking for another subject to do in the spring as well. We always have a lot of back and forth as it relates to budgets, but we're thinking more issue kind of things that relate to education. And so we're looking for suggestions from people on what they recommend for that. So that we'll get more information out. It'll be October 24th on Tuesday night here as we have a study session. We're also going to try piloting. We want to piggyback on something that the superintendent has done. The community conversations that the superintendent has held for 11 years or 12 years, right? Going on 12 years.
13.
13.
Who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting? Yeah. Provide an opportunity for people to come in, sit in one of the cafeterias or one of the gyms and just, shout their questions out, and then on any subject that relates to the school, and then try to get some answers there, or try to connect them with people who can provide answers and make sure that there's follow-up. It's a free-for-all, and it never turns into a free-for-all, but it provides people an opportunity where I don't know where else to ask this question. I'm going to go talk to the superintendent and ask him what he's thinking on this, or what were you guys thinking? Sometimes we get some of those kind of questions. We want to try that in the spring with the school board as well. We want to have a community conversation probably on a Saturday morning, or we'll try to come up with a time that works for people. Open mic, kind of an open mic night. We'll introduce ourselves. We'll go around the room. We'll probably talk about a couple of the initiatives that are underway. We want to hear from people, and we want to have an ability to have an exchange back and forth with them. And again, I call that a pilot. We want to see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll try some other things. One thing that I think we can do a different job on, I look at our policy as it relates to board comment. I've been on the board too long. The first time I was on in the late 80s, the board commented on people's comments. I got to tell you, it was a disaster, because it was a time of very difficult budget time. There were a lot of critics out there, and the board took offense to what was being said, and it showed. And it didn't do anything to improve the relationship with the public and the board at the time. And we saw that in several subsequent votes, both on the budget and on board pieces. But I think, and we wrote in our policy that we're not going to respond. On the other hand, I think we can be a little more friendly, interactive response to public comments, not to enter into a back and forth with people. We're not going to do that. That's a necessary follow-up thing that happens. But hopefully to identify who will respond to an issue that's raised, or whom to contact, and to provide an estimated time of response. We'll try to get back to you by the end of the week, or that's a very complicated issue, and between the superintendent and myself, who takes this on, and just try to react some to that, to make it a little more friendly. We had a lot of public speakers last year, and I think a frustration that we've heard across the board is that, we talk to you, but you never respond. And we're not going to argue. We're not going to get into it. But if we can get some clarification of the question, understand it better, we get the name, then we can give a response. And finally, I didn't have on my list, but Cameron, you should hold me up to this. We're very interested in continuing to, as the student senate talked about communicating with the community, and the community includes our students as well. And your being at the table is an example of something we piloted, and we're past the pilot time now. And we're glad you're here, and your comments are really positive. But we want to look for opportunities, and we hope I think our student representatives are gone, but they often will have these shout outs and these days where they speak outs, where they just take a subject and go 4 periods over the long lunch period and just discuss back and forth. And we want to participate in those. We'll look for those opportunities. So those are the notes that I have from our 2 retreats. I'd invite the board, if anyone would like to add on or suggest or comment, we're open to that before we move on. And this will be a continuing discussion. Yes, Deanna.
Bill, just jumping off on that last comment you made when you were speaking to Cameron, I'd also add on to that not only are our kids in high school, but coming out of middle school, even in some in elementary, they will discuss issues that are going on with their peers, with their teachers, with their administrators. I think we ought to, at some point, maybe look at a bigger venue for the students, including middle school, and have them around a table or have a smaller group just, purposefully that have set issues that we can talk openly about. So, kind of jumping off that whole piece.
Yeah, I think that also fits in, Christina, you raised an issue, Bob, you did in terms of looking at goals going forward. Not every kid is the person who gets picked first on the team. But we have some wonderful students here, and we have some, and this is a time that you can learn and grow and develop, and so I think we've looked at from district goal, how do we help encourage, how do we provide more opportunities? So I think that fits in with that as well.
And maybe the third time's a charm for tonight, but kind of piggybacking on your statement, I agree. I think sometimes I'm only in one building, and there's another high school and there's another middle school, and there's kind of a larger picture at you. So I think that's a great point, Mrs. Stevenson. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, thank you. We'll move on to consent items. We have Treasurer's Report and minutes from August 1st and August 22nd. Could I have a motion to approve the consent items? Christina, second. Bob? All those in favor? Motion carried. We have action items. Under the business section, we have a number of bids, items 1, 2, and 3. Could I have a motion to approve items 1, 2, and 3? Bob, a second. Naomi, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. We have an emergency pesticide resolution. I think whenever we use pesticides on our grounds, we have to actually formally approve that. Can I have a motion for the recommendation that we received on that? Deanna, a second. Bob? Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Scholarship and local grant donations, they're included in our packet. We always do that with appreciation. Can we have a motion on that? Christina? Todd? All those in favor? With appreciation. And our annual nomination of NISBA Convention voting delegate, Mr. DeLallo, is nominated again. Could I have a motion? He didn't raise his hand. Second, Christina? Scratching my nose. Any comments? No. We are thankful, Gary, that you do this and you do it with you pay so much attention to it. I don't know, I bet there's a lot of districts that go into this thing blind and don't understand what's going on. Gary is on top of this, takes it seriously, and has had an impact. And that's what we like to hear about Shen. Shen had an impact on this. So we've been able to, with Gary's leadership on this and his persistence, been able to get some changes made that start at the school board's convention and just keep following through until we wear out some of the education department people in the legislature, right? So all those in favor of Gary as a...
With gratitude.
With gratitude, absolutely.
And an alternate.
Wasn't it asked, maybe this was through a bulletin with an email with Dr. Robinson, but working with someone as a proxy?
Yeah, we can make an alternate.
An alternate, yes.
So he's going to do that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
So you're going to serve as alternate?
Wasn't
So we need to
raising
get a
my-
motion
no.
for that one then.
Yeah, we did have a motion on Gary, and that was approved unanimously.
Yes.
So do we have a nomination for alternate? This is the school board.
Mr. Preston was it last year, right?
If no one wants to do it, I'm willing to step up again this year. I learned a lot. While you're at the convention, it would be good to, if you can, just observe and see, particularly probably the first hour, there's some fairly intense discussion on where things are going, and you'll get really good perspective on the school board. So I'm willing to do it again.
I nominate Bob.
I was going to say, second, you know. All those in favor?
Yay.
Thank you, Bob, with appreciation.
Thanks, Bob.
And we'll move on to Mrs. Myla. So we have recommendations for special education placements. Why don't we get a motion and a second, and then we'll see if there are any questions. A motion, Christina, a second, Todd. Any questions? School year start okay, and you're?
Great.
Yeah, great. All those in favor? Motion carries. We'll move on to personnel. Mrs. Bush.
Good evening. As part of the staffing, I would like to recognize we have one of our administrators, a new administrator, recommend, Michelle Gary-Huba. We're recommending her for the academic administrator for math and science K-5. Michelle, would you stand up, please? She comes to us most recently from Johnstown as an elementary principal, and before that she had been at Mahoneson.
Great.
And we have 2 retirements. Barbara Poznakis is retiring after 10 years as a bus driver, and Carol Rossi is retiring after 23 years as a teacher aide.
I have a motion on the personnel recommendation. Are you doing a separate issue on the evaluator research?
No, that's not on there. We
That's
moved
not
it.
on here?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, that'll be on the next one.
Yep, okay.
Sorry.
Could I have a motion on the staffing recommendations? Deanna, second. Bob? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. That'll be next.
We're back to, if anyone from the public would like to comment, they can come up here at this point. Seeing none. Policy review, we have an update here, and
We have a meeting coming up,
meeting-
Mrs. Carmen, when?
Tomorrow, tomorrow at 10:30.
And we have the schedule set after that to have on moving forward.
Thank you. Just before we move to adjournment, just want to call out that our next meeting will be Tuesday, September 26th, and the follow-on meeting will be, business meeting will be October 10th, or Tuesday. That'll be a business meeting. Could I have a motion for adjournment? Naomi, second. Bob. All those in favor? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.